Welcome to the Luxury Listing Specialist Podcast with Michael LaFido, where top luxury agents reveal their best practices, plus interviews with real estate industry influencers, thought leaders, and luxury marketing experts. You'll come away from each episode with new strategies and tactics to dominate high-end homes in any market. And now for the latest episode of Luxury Listing Specialist. Here's your host, luxury real estate expert, coach, and trainer, Michael LaFido.
Hey everybody, Michael LaFido. Welcome back to the Luxury Listing Specialist Podcast, where we interview top agents and top influencers throughout the world. I'm really excited for today's interview. We have Frank Aazami, who's with Russ Lyon Sotheby's International in Arizona, and he's the head of the private client group, and he's going to be sharing with us ways to be creative, I guess, not just in your marketing, but when you have a client that's got a lot of assets, whether it be artwork, wine, cars, airplanes, how to take that into account to help get the property sold, to get the home sold based on their various assets. And it's a creative way, again, in most marketplaces, that upper end is not moving quickly. We definitely call that a buyer's market. You know, shortage of demand, a lot of supply. And so Frank's going to talk to us about how he takes into account other assets that the owner owns to be creative to put together a deal. So a couple bullet points on Frank. He's got a team of about 15 agents. They've been averaging about $100 million in volume the last several years. He carries anywhere from 60 to 70 listings at any given time, and his personal average sale price, transaction size, is about $2.5 million. And am I missing anything there, Frank, or is that pretty?
Oh my God, you nailed it. Do we even have to have an interview? I think you covered it all. Thanks, Michael.
No, I figured I want to hit some of those bullet points right off the bat. You and I have been talking extensively leading up to this podcast, and you shared some great insight. We have a lot of common core beliefs and philosophies on marketing, and you're doing some amazing things out there. And again, I met you at kind of a party a couple months ago, and we have a lot of similar connections at concierge auctions, and so I've been really looking forward to this interview. So let's dive into things.
Michael, actually, I never thought that we would reconnect again, because a lot of people you meet, you kind of meet and that's about it. But with you, it's follow-up, constant follow-up. I know we spoke several times before this interview, but I thank you because I want to be like you. Follow up with people.
No, I appreciate it, Frank. I believe in business cards. I go to a lot of these networking groups, and I don't carry a business card. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm ADD a little bit, but I like having those business cards because top of mind awareness. And so that's right. I'm looking at your business card right now, Frank. From that.
You're amazing. Thanks, Michael. So talk about creative financing and why is it important? Well, as you remember with the last downturn, a lot of people were bragging about being a short sale specialist and, talking about selling a property at a discount below appraised, below build cost, below market value. Well, there's no talent to that. Anybody can give it away. I used to say, I said, let me see if you can sell it for premium and sell the benefits and maybe use other creative ideas in creating a success story for the seller who actually hired you. If that guy hired you, you better give him your best you got. And so we look at, when we interview with a seller, we try to understand, first of all, where they are, why they're selling, where they're going, and understand more about their finances. Do they have a collection of collectibles, if it's art or wine or cars or jet or diamonds or anything that we could potentially use into creating a win-win situation. So, like we talked about your listing at 17 million, I think it's 17 million. they're not using it as a primary resident. They're using it as their getaway place. So do we have something here in Arizona where somebody has, a playground and they don't want to use it anymore? They're tired of the desert. Now they want something different. They want a place where they can go fish and hunt and do something else with their family. So we pretty much turned the seller into a buyer and a buyer into a seller. Uniting deals, finding pretty much kind of like I always say, we're like a priest. We married a deal instead of acting like an attorney and trying to defend a situation. We're not defending it. We're deal making, not deal breaking. So
right.
That's an art. And
that is an art.
And so I think the more you talk to your client, the more you understand their ability, financial ability, their goal, and you get that across to the agent you're working on the other side, and making sure that everybody has due diligence period. Everybody can check everything. Get an appraisal on that art. Make sure that's authentic. Make sure the attorneys are involved. Make sure the experts that know the product, the inspectors are involved. Have that due diligence in place. And if everybody feels still good, we do the deal. And we essentially create better sales, but it's that customer service that we signed up for. Okay, we signed up that we're going to give them the best, professional, knowledge that we have, and see how we can unite a deal.
Mm-hmm. So the overall experience, trying to bring as much value to the relationship as possible.
Yeah, that and also, everybody can list it like on MLS. You can offer a property that it could be purchased through cash or through just conventional. There are other check marks in there. I know here in Arizona we didn't have the trade. We added that. They wanted to know, why is that important? Because there may be a trade of some sort in there. And the one thing they didn't give us, the armless, they call it, Arizona Regional MLS, they didn't give us what the asset is. Well, it's so important to say, okay, we're willing to take, here's our have, here's our need. So if we know what our need is, then everybody would know, and somebody would call us and say, hey, listen, your need is a office building. I have an office building. I don't want to be a landlord anymore. I don't want to own it anymore. I'd rather have a playground where I can enjoy it. I can't enjoy that ranch that you have listed the way I can with an office building. So take my $17 million income-producing property and give me that ranch, because I only live once. I'm 50, 60 years old. I want to go take my grandkids, get my kids and my friends, and go and use this space. I don't need the money anymore. I need my life. So we do a lot of that kind of, types of exercise to be able to bring deals together. I can give you an example. We had a penthouse in downtown Scottsdale, and this penthouse was part of a resort. Well, in the down market, nobody would finance a penthouse in a resort, in a hotel. So we had to look at other avenues, other ways to sell this property, because not everybody wanted to pay cash for it. During the Barrett-Jackson auction, it's a car auction that takes place here in town, we advertised that we would take cars. So guess what? We got a call, somebody had a car that either they didn't sell or didn't trade. They said, well, I'm not going to drive this thing back. I'll throw it into the deal, and the balance I pay in cash, and that's how we sold it. We had another scenario where a gentleman had... Yeah, I mean, why not? The guy was happy. He took the car, and guess what he did with it? He He drove it right to the Mercedes dealer, traded in, and bought a different car, and that was his car. So there's other ways to do it. Like, we have land that it's, 30, 40, 50 miles out. Nobody wants the land, but they would take something closer in. We've done a transaction where they took another property plus the difference in cash. They bought the land to develop. It's like 160 acres. And, and sold that. So they got all their cash and they sold the property.
Right.
But if you wanted to wait until that person came in with no other baggage, I call it, they just came in to give you the bag full of cash, or they go get a financing on it, you would have to wait a little longer. So you just basically expedite a sell. You shorten it. And guess what else it does? When there's one person interested on the property, you and I know there's 6 other people that are interested. Once you're talking to people, I don't know what it is, but I think the stars kind of line up. So we create momentum. And you and I know all sales are based on momentum. You bring a property on the market, it's new, and there's a lot of attention on it. People come in all at the same time to preview it. It's going to produce a contract because they're all looking at each other. Who's going to buy this? Is it going to be you? Is it going to be somebody's going to buy it? Look at what auctions are doing. They're bringing attention and momentum to a property. All of a sudden, they put all these people against one another, and they sell the property. The property trades.
Creating urgency, right? How do you create urgency in a buyer's market when there's a lot of inventory and no demand, or maybe not even a lot of inventory, but definitely no demand? How do you create that urgency? So creative financing, looking at all the resources from artwork, wine, cars, airplanes, being creative, maybe taking a property on trade. How do you engage that conversation?
I have a guy like Michael said. How many people do you know that they own the property free and clear? Okay, why can they sell or finance it? Okay, if you take that money and put it in the bank or something else, it may produce less than 5%, 6% that you can probably ask on a seller finance. Seller finance it. Sell it for premium. Get them, the payments, and if they default, foreclose on them. Mm-hmm. So seller financing is a huge part of our business. And we talk about it, and a lot of times people come in and they look at the property and they like the seller financing. And then at the end of the day, they write the contract and it's all cash. So, but they would have never gotten there, never would have bought the place if they didn't fall in love with it, and the creatives go away. A lot of times we talk about trades. By the time we write the deal, it's a straightforward deal. But it would have never taken place if we didn't put our fishing, I call it the bait. We put multiple baits. One bait has seller financing attached to it, the other bait, and we're all fishing. We're fishing for the buyer. And the buyer is looking for something that they want to accomplish. Maybe, there's a white elephant in their portfolio that they don't need. So, but, the saddest part of this whole thing is, in the beginning when the market was tanking and I was doing a lot, I was pitching this a lot, not too many people commit. If you all know, an exclusive listing, or just to give you a listing agreement, if they don't give me a listing agreement, I'm not going to work. So, all these, this is all exciting, but once you become an expense, not an asset for a client, then you're worthless. You're worth nothing. So, you did all the work, and they found what they wanted to do, and now you're an expense, and you're not going to get paid. So, it's bad enough that we got to get paid at the end of the transaction. But if they don't commit, I don't go to work.
Yeah.
And if I'm doing a deal with somebody on the other side, I want to make sure that they are compensating for that transaction. I don't care if it's art or not. I'm getting paid on it. It's part of the deal. So we're getting paid on that too. So that's very important. Yeah, because you have to have a value. What's your value? If you're doing it for fun, then
right. There's a lot of charities you could do for fun. I totally get where you're coming from. So the creative financing. So it's interesting. You talked about short sales and all this back in the day, but if somebody owns the property free and clear, you are still offering seller financing, not necessarily because your potential buyer is hurting financially, but it just is another option. Maybe they want to leverage other people's equity and money. Is that what you're saying?
Not only that, yes, Mike. We have a lot of Canadians that buy in our marketplace in Scottsdale and Paradise Valley, or Europeans, or just people from out of the area, out of the country. They don't want to bring in $5 million to buy a property. They want to bring, maybe they can only bring $1 million or $2 million. Maybe there are restrictions of how much money. I know China is like, prohibiting money to leave the country anymore. So what do? You bring him in. I know we sold one at a premium in a down market to a Chinese buyer. The property was worth at the time $900,000. We got $1.5 million for it because that was the note. That was the note on it. We didn't short sell it. We wrapped it, and we seasoned that buyer, and we put a new financing on it. So there was an alternative way to sell a property so that the seller wouldn't get a short sale on his credit. So again, seller financing.
And how do you advertise that seller financing? In the agent remarks? Is there, how do you make it predominant?
Agent remarks is great, but what's greater, it's public remarks. You want that end user to call you, and then if you can't find him that, and you're knowledgeable and you're a good agent, and you know other seller financing opportunities, you say, hey, listen, this is mine. You're calling me. Here's the situation here. If this doesn't work, I got 6 other ones I can show you, right? So you put them on one that fits best for his need. So, and then, I have an attorney right now. I have his house listed for $3.2 million right now. We bought it on seller financing. He's Canadian. He's a trial attorney, retired trial attorney. He owns a casino in Canada. And he called me. He goes, hey, listen, I'm looking for some finance. I don't want to bring all that money from Canada over here. I can, but I don't want to. So what we did was we found a deal. And sometimes the agent on the other side is not broadcasting, the willingness of the seller. But if you can ask, and I know a lot of these guys, especially if they're doing it part-time, they'll hang up on you, or they don't know it, or they think it's a fraud or something like that. But if they know your name and they can get comfortable with your buyer, I think, and you educate them, maybe through a little blurb of, hey, here's the client is so-and-so, this is their situation, would your client consider this exercise? And you'd be surprised how many people will say yes. And guess what? You just sold the property. You get paid.
So we'll talk about the getting paid. That was my next question. Talk to me how the numbers work. So, let's just keep it real simple for people listening. Let's just say it's a $3 million sale. The co-op is 3%. Let's say it's a 3 and 3. Let's talk numbers here. How does the seller financing aspect work? Okay, again, you're delaying the closing. So when do you get paid as a listing agent? We're not delaying the closing. We're closing escrow. Okay, instead of the bank being the lender, the seller is the lender. The seller is the bank. So transfers title, and here in Arizona, and you get paid. You get paid just like you would in any other deal. You just don't have to go through a whole nonsense of bank approvals. Your seller should approve them. Should get some maybe credit report off of them. Yeah, your seller's got to do their due diligence, right?
Right, exactly. I mean, but the buyer, if they're happy with the deal, most likely they don't want to do an appraisal. I think they should get an appraisal. They know what they're buying. But, you're selling it for premium because you're offering terms. When you offer terms, you benefit from, from the sale.
Right.
So the numbers will work out just like if you had a normal sale. Nothing different. You get paid when it closes escrow. As a matter of fact, instead of 30 days, you can do it as close as, I've done them in a week. We created the paperwork. We already have it in place. Fill in the blanks. You get it through a title company. If they do want to run it by their attorney, they're welcome to. We're doing one right now with the guys from Washington State. And entrepreneur, he has $9 million in his account, but he needs it for his business. He doesn't want to buy. He doesn't want to put $5 million into purchasing a house. So we're doing creatives there, and we're getting premium for it because our cash guy was about $350,000 less. Okay. And since you're broadcasting this after this closes, I can say this. So this is going to close rather soon, but so we can discuss it.
Yeah. So the seller, you probably in this really don't want this to come back and bite you in case the buyer couldn't perform and then you got to foreclose on the buyer, et cetera. So what are you encouraging the seller as far as their due diligence to make sure that this buyer's story adds up? Because they have some skin in the game. They're putting down, deposit, what have you. But at the end of the day, what are you encouraging your sellers from a due diligence standpoint?
So due diligence, if they're going to pay in time? Well, just
not necessarily that they're going to pay in time, but hey, this guy's story adds up. He's worth millions, what have you. Are you proof of funds? I guess. What are you doing?
Proof of funds. You can ask for tax returns. You can ask for. You can do a little. You research to see if they are who they are, if they have filed. Honestly, I would bring in your CPA and attorney into play when you're doing it. Why not? Especially the larger the numbers are, make sure there are people out there doing crazy stuff. So that's why you hire experts. You got the best agent. Make sure your agent's in business, right? They've done X amount of transactions a year. They know what they're talking about. When you and I know, we see them, we smell them, we know trouble. We could call it. As soon as you see, 9 out of 10 times you're going to be right? Because you're dealing with buyers all the time. You're dealing with sellers all the time. It's just like the guy that trains the dog knows how to get that dog to be trained. That's his expert. He's an expert. That's what he does day in and day out. And so that's what a good agent does. They can send and bring a deal. There are people that are out there that they just want to close the deal. Well, that's out there. That's something that you have to make sure you get a reputable company, reputable agent, and ask questions. Make sure you hire the right guy, just as you do with an attorney or a CPA or a doctor.
Yeah.
Make sure they're in business.
So you touched on, that's really the big takeaway, folks, that are listening to this podcast is the creative financing, the upper end, the high-end homes. In most marketplaces, it's definitely a buyer's market, so you need to be creative. And one of the ways to be creative that Frank shared with us is basically seller financing, right? And so do your due diligence, but if a seller's motivated, they tell you they're motivated on a scale of 1 to 10, hey, Frank, hey, Mike, I'm a 10. Well, many times they don't want to reflect it in their price, so this is a great alternative to get potential buyers through the property, and you could differentiate yourself even as a buyer's agent, and you might attract more buyers with this. So, but like you said, Frank, you got to educate the other agents many times because there's a lot of traditional inside-the-box agents. Pretty fair to say?
Absolutely, but not only seller financing. It's asset management. Okay, so I have a third or fourth home, and I'm done with Hawaii. I want the desert. I don't want the desert. I want the lake property, or if I want a ski property, or whatever it is. So it's your have and need. Here's what I have. Here's what I need. And sometimes we take them shopping. Say, hey, listen, maybe we can find somebody who has a third or fourth home also that that doesn't need it and would take yours. So, it's a lot of legwork, but I tell you, if you're starting in the business and, you can create you can create a success story, then you can just elevate your game and get more market share for yourself.
Yeah, if it were easy, everyone would do it. Isn't that right, Frank?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Hardest thing is to get up in the morning, dress up like a professional, know what you're doing, know the inventory, and really connect with people that other great agents in other markets. They may have the lead for you. Like you and I. I mean, we spoke about multiple different listings you have, things that I have.
Right.
What's going on with this guy? What's his motivation in selling? What's his timeline? Does he even have a timeline? I mean, is there going to be a 10-year? I mean, there's the agent in my marketplace that his average days on the market is 10 years. It's not days; it's years on the market. Jeez. 10 years. I mean, there are times
when you need a property to be listed, call him, huh?
Yeah,
listed,
that's all you're
not
doing.
Sold,
you're
listed.
You're listing it. You're not selling it. So you got to realize. I mean, do you want to take a listing and just kind of go away? And I mean, it is nice, but it's costly for some of us, like you and I. We take great photos and video, and we spend money and marketing. You're traveling all the time, pitching it to other people in other markets. It's a lot of effort.
Yeah, it is a lot of effort.
Yeah.
I love today's topic, and you talked about when you get that first success. You didn't say the word leverage it, but leverage that, and it will open other doors for you. So when you do get that successful deal, so for a couple things before we let everyone go. Again, for those agents that are listening to this podcast, and you want some more meat and potatoes, you want to attract more high-end clientele and listings, don't forget, check out our certification, luxurylistingspecialist.com, luxurylistingspecialist.com. Or you can shoot me a note at Michael at Marketing Luxury Group, if you have any ideas or suggestions on future podcasts. But Frank, for anyone that might have a referral in your market there in Arizona, they want to ask you a question, or like I said, maybe they have someone looking to move to or from Arizona. What's the best way for somebody to reach out to you, Frank?
Oh, sure. By phone, it's 480-266-0240, 480-266-0240, or they can just email me at Frank. It's Frank at PCG Private Client Group, it stands for, agents.com. So Frank at P as in Paul, C as in Charlie, G as in George, agents.com.
PCGagent.com. Frank at PCGagent.com. Frank, some great insight today. What's that?
Oh, with an S. Agents.
Agents, plural. Agents. AGENTS.com. So again, Frank's number 480-266-0240. Frank at PCGagents.com is his email. On creativity. So again, you're doing amazing things. You're investing in your clients. You are a marketer, which is great. You don't just list properties. Anyone can list them, as attested by the guy that's got a 10-year average. And that's what we talk about with the Luxury Listing Podcast is, hey, we don't just list homes. We market them. There's a calculated difference. So some great insight on ways to be creative. Look at all the different assets and try to put deals together. So thank you for your time today, Frank.
Thank you for your time, Michael. I always enjoy talking to you.
Hey there, it's Michael LaFido. Thanks again for listening to our podcast. If you are interested in signing up for our Luxury Listing Specialist certification, or if you want additional information on how you can dominate selling higher-end homes in your marketplace, make sure you go to luxurylistingspecialist.com.